Howdy, it is Matt with Book Brilliant, here today with another great interview, this time featuring Art Alexakis from the band Everclear. Everclear is on their Summerland 2021 tour right now. They've been doing the Summerland tours since 2012 with a bunch of bands that are 90s alternative bands with some huge hits. This year, it's Everclear, Hoobastank, Wheatus, and Living Color. So some huge bands to go see. You can look at all of their dates and learn more about it on summerlandtour.net, summerlandtour.net. And you can also find Everclear at everclearmusic.com. On Facebook, you can find them as Everclear. Instagram, they're at Everclear, right? So check them out. Give them a follow, especially if you like this interview. I think it's one that you'll actually walk away learning quite a bit from. It's very interesting. Art was extremely polite. I was a little bit nervous. I know he likes professionalism, and I wanted to make sure that I delivered that. There's actually kind of a funny part in there that we laugh at for a second where I made a mistake and listen for it because it's funny. But Everclear, they've got 9 studio albums, 6 compilation albums, multiple hits, multiple platinum albums. They've been to the top of charts multiple times. You know their songs. And I was really looking forward to talking to Art, and I am really looking forward to going and see them live now. So check it out. It's a powerful interview.
All right, Art, thank you for coming on. It's great to have you. Last week when I was talking to Brendan B. Brown from Wheatus, he was talking about his excitement for being on the tour, and I told him, I said, Art, he's got such a cool singing voice, but I think his talking voice sounds cool too. So,
who said that? You?
I said that, yeah, but Brendan was talking about how excited he was to be on the tour with you. He said you're one of the best songwriters in America. So,
I love Brendan. Don't tell him how much I love him, because I think he is not just a cool guy, but a great songwriter, great musician, great vision of what he does. I love his band. They're a bunch. I tease them all the time. I call them a bunch of hippies. But. He's a badass, and I'm looking forward to, after this tour, we're trying to set up a West Coast run in November for about, I think anywhere from like 8 to 9 dates. You know, and Wheatus has agreed to be on them, so it'd be Everclear and Wheatus and playing clubs. I think that would just be so awesome, so much fun.
It would be.
Yeah, so that's what I'm looking forward to. But as far as brilliant people go, I don't know how brilliant I am.
I think you are, man. I've studied a lot about you and on the way up for this, so I'm thrilled. But yeah, the Summerland, you're about to start the second leg of it. People should know, if they're not familiar with who's on it this year. It's Everclear, obviously, Living Color, Hoobastank, Wheatus. You guys are playing the hits, maybe some covers, maybe some new stuff. But anybody who goes is going to have a blast. I'll be there when you guys come to Omaha.
Oh, you're going to be in Omaha?
Yep.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, that's going to be fun. The first leg of this tour, man, we had so much fun, and there was no drama. Whenever you do a multi-band tour, there's always drama. Someone in the bands are like prima donnas, or the crew, or whatever,
Yeah.
And there was none of that until the second to last day. We're all sitting around just going, man, this has just been so awesome. Everyone's working with other, people. We're paying these guys a little bit of money, from Wheatus's crew to come help us out. Everybody's synchronicity, right? That's the words we're using. Everyone's like patting each other on the back. And then you hear yelling on the Wheatus bus. I don't know if he told you about this. Did he tell you about the bus driver?
No. Tell us the story, though. He'll be all right.
Okay. Well, anyway, there was a bus driver on his bus, and he was hammered drunk. Okay. I can't begin to tell you how inappropriate that is. The Department of Travel, of Transportation rather, DOT, has extremely strict rules that you can't have any alcohol within 24 hours of driving a bus.
Yeah.
Period. He's hammered and they're supposed to drive in about an hour and a half. So they have to call a new driver. They have to fire him. He's arguing. They push him off the bus or take him off the bus, take his bag. And Brendan finds out he's missing his iPad. They start looking for the iPad in the bag, find a couple iPads. I think they find the remotes for the bus. I think he just got mad and drunk and just started grabbing shit and throwing it in the back. And then the guy taking it out, this awesome guy who's our tour coordinator, Joel, pulls out a handgun. And we're like, oh,
whoa,
a handgun in a holster. And he puts it behind him. The guy's yelling at him like, I got legal carry and you can't take this away from me. And he's like, man, I'm not giving an angry drunk guy a gun. It's not happening. It's just not happening. He puts it behind him. And I just walk up behind him, tap him on the arm. He hands it to me. I used to pick pockets when I was a kid. Anyway, I'm creating a diversion with this hand. Everyone's looking at me with this hand. And this hand over here is just tucking it in. I walk over to my guy who, my tour manager, who's like, dude, I saw that. I'm like, here, take it. Shut up. Go hide it. And the cops came and, the guy won't shut up. And the cops are like, look, you got to go. You're not getting the gun back. Cause the cop was like a military guy, just like in like 4 seconds, just turn this thing into like 10 pieces, right? Just like a marsupial,
Yeah.
And he's like, yep, full clip. Yep, there's one in the chamber too. And I'm like,
oh geez,
how badly could that have gone?
No kidding.
Yeah. So, but Brendan, man, Brendan was the best part of it because Brendan's like the sweetest guy. He's like, no, man, it's not cool. You can't do this. And the guy's in his face and almost pushing him. And Brendan, I'm watching him. I'm like hovering. And I don't walk very good because I got MS, right? So I can't run. I can walk pretty fast, but I can't run. And I'm just start moving over there, watching him. And finally I see Brandon just, you know what? F you, man. He starts doing that thing. You want some? You want some of this? He turns Long Island like that. And I saw it coming and boom, I'm right there. I'm like, nope.
Yeah.
They'll sue you. This guy will sue you. He will win if you hit him. Nope.
No kidding.
But it was like that, man. We all took care of each other on tour, It was a great tour. So I'm looking forward to the second leg. I think everyone is.
Yeah.
So let's talk books.
Yeah, let's do that. I'm going to text Brendan after this and tell him that you told me that because that's funny. So, I'm going
to get in trouble.
It'll be okay. It'll be all right. He is a tough dude, though. So, this is a kind of a vague question, but do you have a favorite book and why?
I have several favorite books. I grew up poor, and I grew up in a time when we didn't have, screens, as we call them. I have a 13-year-old who was a voracious reader, and now she's got a iPad and a computer and a cell phone. And we really, during COVID, before COVID, we were very strict on time.
Yeah.
And during COVID, we had to loosen up on it because there's nothing for her to do. And plus, just going to school for a year was basically on a screen.
Yeah.
But I came up in a time when reading was everything, and I grew up reading voraciously at the age of, in third grade, fourth grade, I was reading college level.
Wow.
Yeah. Or sixth grade. Sixth grade, I was reading college level, and writing college level as far as grammar and stuff like that goes. But my math was bad, like second grade level.
I was the same way.
I grew up in a house. I grew up in a project school. I went to a housing project. My man, having a little coffee. But I grew up reading when I was a kid reading baseball books, like baseball sports fiction, because I played Little League, right?
Yeah.
And I just love these stories of kids living in these. There was one guy named Matt Christopher that wrote baseball books, and now I think they use his name and they have different writers writing under that name.
Yeah, okay.
I'm sure Matt Christopher was a pseudonym.
Yeah.
So probably some Eastern European guy or something. lady, you know?
Yeah.
Like S.E. Hinton. No one knew for years that was a girl, a 17-year-old girl who wrote The Outsiders, right?
Of course, yeah.
But then I got into science fiction. I remember reading The Fountainhead and Atlas Shrugged when I was like 14.
Wow.
Well, I got into Rush, and then I learned about Ayn Rand. And then I'm like, yeah, I like a lot of this, but I really don't like this lady's politics. And I was 14 years old, and I knew that.
Yeah.
And I thought she was kind of full of shit even then. But I thought she told a good story. But her philosophy and everything else just kind of ruined it for me. But I guess some of my favorite books, if I had to pick a favorite book, it'd be a science fiction book, but it's a classic. It's kind of the book that opened up the whole idea of free love in the early 60s. It's called Stranger in a Strange Land by Robert Heinlein.
Okay.
And I mean, I read all sorts of other stuff. Right now I'm in school, so I'm reading all sorts of stupid stuff, but I wouldn't call them my favorite books.
Yeah.
But I really love that book. There's so many different like Catcher in the Rye. I turned my 13-year-old on to that last year. Just, you know, I like classics. Kill a Mockingbird. And then I read contemporary books too now, and I like a lot of them. I don't love any of them. I think they lack a little bit.
Yeah.
Sometimes. What's your favorite book?
Well, the reason why it's a tough question for me to ask people is because when someone asks me that, I would say, well, when I was 16, my favorite book was The Dirt by Motley Crue. Right? That made me want to be in a band. I knew I'd always wanted to play music, but that really was like, I have to be in a band right now. By the time I was, 20, my favorite book was either The Noticer by Andy Andrews or The Traveler's Gift by Andy Andrews. And I read that, in a point in my life where I really needed to be uplifted. And I would read those books and I would just be crying. My dad gave me The Noticer when I was like 15. And I just kind of was like, whatever, Dad. Kind of didn't think much of it. And then I read it at the perfect time in my life. And it made quite the impact on me. Are you familiar with Andy Andrews by chance? I
know the name. Actually, The Noticer is in my reading list I have like about 40 books in there.
Yeah.
I keep like trying to work through. And I like to read a fiction book for fun.
Yeah.
And a nonfiction all at the same time because I get tired of this and I read this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I like to bounce back, back and forth. Right now, I'm reading. Funny that you said The Dirt. One of my favorite books is Hammer of the Gods.
Yes. Led Zeppelin.
Same writer.
Yeah.
But about Zeppelin. And I'm reading the Zeppelin book right now that's actually a better written book, I gotta say. It's called When Gods Walked the Earth.
Yes.
Yeah.
Was it When Giants Walked the Earth? I haven't read it, but I'm familiar with it.
Giants Walked the Earth. Yeah. When Giants Walked the Earth. Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those books. It took me a minute because he had his own rhythm and style, and it wasn't traditional. And it took me a minute to get into it, but now it's just like I love it. I'm about 4 chapters in. But
yeah. That's how I felt with Steven Tyler's book. It was hard for me to kind of get it because it's Steven Tyler and it's very Steven Tyler when you start it. But once you start getting into his rhythm, it's a good book. How's your book coming along?
I just kind of, this has been a rough year for me physically. I had COVID and that was really, really rough on me, rough on the whole family. but really rough on me physically. It progressed my MS just a little bit, not bad, horrible, but I'm on a new medication and I'm adjusting to that. It takes about a month or two for it to kick in, and I'm about 13 days in. So
Okay.
yeah, it's rough right now, but the good news is I'll be up to snuff by the time we go back on tour in about 3 weeks. But my book. I've gotten sidelined. I want to write it now. Like, I've been taking notes. I've been like seriously into doing it, and I'm ready to like sit down. I'm just about ready to sit down and just start telling the story and then editing it,
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. I really feel the need to be of service, and I'm back in school. I'm getting a certification for a master life coach, which sounds easy. It's not.
Of course not.
It's a lot of work. And then at the same time, I'm starting classes in about 3 weeks online to get my certification for alcohol and drug counseling, and then another 3 or 4 classes with the classes I had from years ago. I'll be able to have my 4-year my bachelor's in psychology, and then there's a year program to get my master's as well. So that's what I'm doing for the next 2 or 3 years.
Wow.
So I might be able to put a book out there, but I'm not. I don't have that much energy. I used to.
Yeah. I get that. I wanted to ask kind of a 2-part question. Have you ever read On Becoming a Person by Carl Rogers? You ever read this one?
No, I've seen the book though.
Yeah. I had a friend who was going to school for a similar thing, and he got me a copy of that. That's pretty good.
That self-help book?
Yeah, well, it's kind of about Carl Rogers, just talking about, he's the founder of the humanistic psychology movement, and it's just kind of about that and his career and influence and stuff.
Yeah, I'd like to read that.
Yeah, it's good.
Well,
do you have any other books you've picked up in school that you really liked with psychology and self-help at all?
Not really. Well, the self-help book, I went through a divorce in my early 40s, and really I had a lot of epiphanies and a sea change go on in my life because of it. And it wasn't that marriage really mattered that much to me. It was just kind of where my head was at. And my sobriety, I was clean and sober with drugs and alcohol, but not the way I treated women or sex or personal relationships. And I really got back on track because of a therapist mentor that I had at the time who ended up dying from a brain tumor like 3 or 4 years later. But I got into these 2 books that really helped me. One is a very small book called The 4 Agreements. Yes. And that was extremely helpful because it's so simple. But the simple precepts of that book are just so important, so all-encompassing. And the other book was a book that came out about the same time by Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now. And that book, those 2 books changed my life.
Yeah.
In an amazingly good way. So those are the last books that I really, really like. I've read since then. I've read, Hammer of the Gods and the Aerosmith book by the same guy, Walk This Way.
Yep.
The Dirt. So what did you think of the movie The Dirt?
I thought they did a decent job, honestly. I mean, I've read that book twice, and I thought that they did pretty good with it. I got a kick out of Machine Gun Kelly playing Tommy Lee. I thought he was perfect fit for it.
I didn't even know that was him till later, dude.
Yeah.
I thought he was great.
Yeah.
Really great. I mean, he was really great. I found it enjoyable. Is it a high art of a filmmaking? No, But I think it fit the thing. Now, who played Mick Mars? I know that actor.
I don't know. I don't know his name. Really, I knew it when it came out, but I don't remember what that guy's name is.
But he's been in something else that everybody's seen.
Wasn't it like Game of Thrones? Was he in Game of Thrones?
He was Game of Thrones, and I know who it was. It was the horrible, worst character in what's his name? He was. Did you watch Game of Thrones?
I stayed away from that because it was going to take up too much of my time. Everybody said,
it's so good. It's so
everybody said, you won't be able to stop it. And I was like, man, I got a whole line of books and a lot of other things I want to do. And I knew I'd get absorbed in it. So I've stayed away.
So good. Well, it's right there when you ever want to watch it. I mean,
of course.
I'm trying to get my wife to watch it again because they're going to do a prequel, which I've read. I'm so if you really want to get into books, The Lord of the Rings, anything Tolkien.
Yeah.
I've read 15 times.
Wow.
Silmarillion, all the Lost Tales, all that stuff, all the books. And I'm super excited that the coming next, I think next fall, is going to be the TV series of the Silmarillion, which is the histories before. So, yeah. So I'm really excited about that.
Have you ever read any of like the other guys from Motley Crue, any of their books, or Nikki Sixx's Heroin Diaries by chance?
Nah, nope.
I read Heroin Diaries, and when I was like 14 or 15, I read Heroin Diaries, and that book was the reason why I never tried drugs, honestly, because it was just it was pretty I mean, it's a journal of him at his peak heroin addiction, and I think that was kind of his mission with writing that book, and it worked because I realized, like, look, if I want to play music, drugs really are going to get in the way of that,
If you want to do anything in this world, drugs are going to get in the way with that. Yeah,
no
absolutely.
So did you ever read anything by C.S. Lewis? If you liked Tolkien, did you ever read like the Chronicles of Narnia or any of his other books?
I read them to my, I read that's The Witch in the Wardrobe. That guy. Yeah, I read, I think, all the books to my eldest daughter, but that would have been 15 years ago, maybe 20 years ago. So when she was little, I'd read them to her. But I read Lord of the Rings and the whole trilogy to her as well.
That's great.
But as we got halfway through the trilogy, she started taking turns and reading with me. Yeah.
Very nice. So I wanted to ask you this, and this is a very genuine question that I've been thinking about, and I wanted to get your opinion. What do you have any with your past, with everything that you've done, with your schooling and everything? Do you have advice for people if somebody were to have a friend that came to them and said, that they were suicidal or something? What would you say? What's something that people can say to that to maybe help somebody that they care about? Because I don't think I have an answer for how I would respond to that.
Well, the first thing I would say is that they are incredibly brave for being able to admit that.
Wow.
It shouldn't be that big of a stigma, but it is.
Yeah.
And there are very few people in this world, if any, that haven't felt suicidal at one time or another.
Yeah.
It's just the way life is. And I would help them find a professional that could deal with that, to figure out why they're feeling that way. It might be a physical thing, that they're in pain all the time. It might be something that's mental, or it could have been, with a lot of people, PTSD. I had something really horrible happen to me when I was 8 years old, and it's been, a pain motivator and trigger for my whole life. That, and my brother dying, and my dad abandoning us, and just everybody's got something. Mine are worse than a lot, but there's a lot of people who make mine look like, Ozzie and Harriet or something. I don't know if you know that reference. That's a little before your time. But, I would just, if someone came up to me and told me that, I would just tell them how awesome they are for being present enough to feel that and to talk about it and to ask for help. Because if they're coming to you telling you that, they're asking for help, and you need to help them find help from someone who professionally can help them, that deals with that. And I think that that's a huge start for someone to be able to say that. That's why when someone calls a suicide line, it's like, I love that. I love when people are like, you know what, I need help. I've been sober for 32 years. I am so proud of people who come into the rooms, the sober rooms, with a few days or a day. And I'm just like, man, awesome. You're brave and strong, and you feel like admitting your weakness is such a thing of strength.
Yeah.
To admit that you can't do something like that. So that's, I deal with that all the time, with sponsees.
Yeah.
But I have a friend of mine that I just helped get into treatment. Actually, he's in treatment right now. I haven't talked to him for a week and a half, and I won't for another 2-3 weeks. But I helped him get into a facility because he worked for me for 20 years and he was just falling apart, and I had to let him go. And I had to, I told him I'll get you into treatment. I'll do anything I can if I can afford it, if I can't get someone to pay for it. And luckily through different companies, I got him in. So that's wonderful.
Yeah. No, that's great. I've never had anybody. I've had people that I've worried about, and so I've tried to, help them in different ways. But another thing I thought that you could probably give good advice on is, I'll be honest, man. I dated a few girls before I was married who had told me that they were, abused in some capacity as a kid. And when people would share that kind of thing with me, I'd always tell them, I appreciate you telling me that, and it means a lot that you trust me like that. How I feel about you doesn't change that. I love you, whatever. When somebody tells somebody else about a childhood trauma or any trauma, how can we as friends and people who love them respond in a way that's empathetic and could maybe build them up a little bit?
If it's someone that's a friend and they feel comfortable in telling you that, it's just listen to them. Just say, do you want to talk about it? If you want to talk about it, man, I'm here. If you can't handle it, then you should be honest with them, but it's going to affect your friendship, as well should. Yeah, because it's showing that you're not really there for them. But better that than acting like you are when you're not. Yeah. But if you're there for somebody, just listen. You got to just listen and not try to fix. That's where a lot of people get into trouble. I think you try to fix things, and I get it. I'm a fixer as well. I'm a caregiver. My daughter's having problems. I want to fix it. Yeah. Instead of listening, guys do this all the time. Women tell them problems, and they're like, well, you should do this and this and this and this. They just want you to listen. Shut the hell up and listen. And, and then if they ask you your opinion, then you tell them, and that's kind of what I would do with someone who came to you with some sort of event or trauma. Yeah. Yeah.
That's really good advice, and I think the people listening who hear this, they'll walk away learning something with that. So, have you have a song title called "How to Win Friends and Influence People"? Have you ever actually read that book?
Yeah, I read the book.
Very nice.
Many years ago, I had to for school. Back in the 70s, they made you read all sorts of things.
Oh, really?
And I read that. I read all that stuff. I'm a big fan of the more I start thinking about all the books that I've read in my life, I mean, I've got probably 20 boxes this side full of books that I can't even pick up anymore because of my back. Yeah, that are in storage because we just don't have room for them in the house. I wish I could have a library where I could like what you got behind you. I've got I've got bookshelves, but I think there's maybe 100 books in there, and
Yeah.
I probably got about 2,000 books.
Nice. Very nice.
Between me and my wife.
That's great. What kind of books does she like to read?
I think it's changed over the years. She was originally a physics major and astronomy major, so Carl Sagan used to be big. And I've read Carl Sagan as well, but she really lately has been reading more self-help books on spirituality, books on healing, because she's been training as a healer, and she does amazing things that I used to be totally skeptical of, like people like touch, putting their hands over your body. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. I never bought that shit. And then she started doing it to me, and I felt heat, actual heat, pulsing heat coming out of her hands. And I've had other people, friends of mine, like that she's like worked on them, and she's just, call it God-given, call it whatever. She's got, and everyone who's ever come in contact with her, the people that she works with, they were skeptics before. It's like, I've always been pretty pragmatic and pretty punk rock about stuff, and it's just like, you got to show me, dude. I don't want to hear the spiritual aspect of it. Even though I've always felt like a spiritual person, I believe in God. My idea of Christianity is pretty different than what the popular notion is. Uh-huh. It's based on Jesus's words, and so I guess you could call me a red letter Christian. But,
there we go. Yeah.
You know what that refers to, right? Yeah,
I'm a Christian as well, so yeah, I totally understand. So
in the King James version, Jesus's words are in red.
Yeah.
And, so that's where that comes from. But but I'm also very pragmatic, and I realize that everything, it's not as black and white as a lot of Christians want to make life be, or make God as small as so that they can understand him. I have a very open mind towards that. I think science has nothing to do with, like, God gave us the ability to create science.
Yeah.
So it is God-given.
Of course.
So, it's not anti-God. And so I always find that humorous. But I to get back to what you were asking about, it's just I feel very comfortable with different options of as I get older, and I'm learning more about psychology and things that I thought I knew, but now I'm learning where it comes from and how it works. And it's a lot less mysterious than you think it is. And people are a lot less complicated in some ways and more complicated in other ways, if that makes sense.
No, that does. Your wife might like, there's a book called Power Healing by John Wimber.
Yeah. I think she has it right over there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think so. John Wimber, that sounds really, really familiar.
Yeah, my dad met John Wimber in the 80s, actually, which is cool. We're from, like I said, I live in Nebraska, but he actually went out to California to go to one of Wimber's events. So, yeah, with
you guys are Christians, but you're into like healing and natural, like more like you guys are open-minded.
Towards healing, but like you said, there's different forms of it that people prescribe to. People call it charismatic, the healing, things like that. I try to be a little bit of, like with what you're saying, I try to not buy into everything that people say. I have to experience things as well. And so the problem with the charismatic movement was that there was also a lot of bullshit with it,
Are you saying the charismatic Christian movement?
Yes.
Oh yeah. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
My mom, my sisters, my mom went to a Assembly of God church that was into charismatic healing, and her car broke down and they all went out and prayed over her car.
Did it start?
No, didn't start. You know when it started? When the guy came and put gas in it.
That's funny.
And primed it. Again, I think God and his sons and daughters and everybody has so much, is present enough to know that they are God embodied, as I believe we all are. We just don't know, and we're learning. It's like everything is here for us to make this heaven. I don't think this is heaven. I think this is hell, and I think heaven is the real world, and we have to figure this out before we can go there. So that's my belief.
Yeah.
And, everyone's welcome to their belief. I just don't like it when other people's belief, people try to shove it down your throat.
Of course. Yeah.
With guilt, fear, and sometimes weapons,
Yeah, no kidding. I agree with you. I think some people also don't have the maturity to talk about it. If they have a difference in an aspect of Christianity, some people get worked up too much and they can't even have the conversation.
It doesn't sound like if it doesn't sound like Sunday school, dude. It ain't real, and they want to fight you about it, and which goes totally counter to everything Jesus ever said.
Yeah,
ever said. He never said, if they don't believe you, beat them.
Yeah, I missed that part of the red letters as well.
Me too. I missed that part, Matthew. Yeah. But
there's a couple Christian counseling books. I wonder if you're familiar with them or what you would think if you read them. One's called Could It Be This Simple by Timothy Jennings.
Mm-mm.
And this is a fantastic book. I would be really curious as to what your thoughts were of it. And then there's he was a psychologist. His name's Neil T. Anderson. He wrote The Bondage Breaker, which was a big one. I grabbed, in preparation for this interview, I grabbed some fatherhood books, some that I had, and he had written this one called this one's kind of it's not one of his most popular, but it's called The Seduction of Our Children, and it's just kind of a warning with parents and protecting them, protecting their kids. But I really like Neil Anderson, and Could It Be This Simple had an impact on me when I got baptized when I was 18. So.
Did you ever read, talking about parenting books, Finding Ophelia?
Say that again?
The book Finding Ophelia.
No, I haven't.
Dude, it's classic. Look it up. It's number one bestseller for like 55 weeks or something crazy like that. It's frightening for a parent. Are you a parent?
Yes, I've got two boys. I've got a 3-year-old son and a 9-month-old son.
I got a baby.
Yeah.
Does your wife work?
No, she stays at home.
Yeah.
She loves
babies? Yeah.
Yeah. She absolutely loves it. Do you have any parenting advice for me?
Yeah.
Probably a lot.
I don't know where to start. Right now, it seems like it's something that's very, very important to you. It's a priority, and that's more than people from my generation could ask for in a dad, because that didn't really exist. To be fair to my father and mother's generation, people had kids, and that would be your grandparents, right?
Yeah.
People had kids because they were supposed to, not necessarily because they wanted to.
Yeah.
And I like it now that people are waiting later to have kids. They're having kids on their own terms, and they're having children that they really, really want.
Yeah.
And I think that's 90% of the ball game right there. It's just being there, physically being there, emotionally being there. Sometimes it's not easy. But just being there as a father is really, really important, and putting your kids over everything else, even your own feelings. Yeah. Sometimes relationships don't work out. Early on in a relationship or marriage, you don't think that. People grow, and growing together. That's my one thing I would give to any man is you cannot be a great father without being a great partner to the mother of that child.
Yeah.
And so that's something I wasn't good at. Always good at taking care of my kids, always there, present, paid for everything, made sure I was 100% there for them. But I wasn't a good husband.
Yeah.
I am now.
That's good.
I'm my wife now, but I wasn't then. And I at least I learned. A lot of men never learn.
Yeah. Yeah. I find your lyrics to be more intense in a way than the heaviest metal band could ever dream of having intense lyrics, right? I mean, for all the people I've interviewed, you're the only one who, when I'm listening to your songs, I tear up. And, Father of Mine, I always thought it was a good song, but my dad never left, when I was a kid. He stayed. But when I was listening to it in anticipation for this with, all of your other albums, and I was thinking about it, and I was imagining my son, in the shoes of you as the singer. And that choked me up. And I told my wife about it because I said, I've never ever thought about walking out, on my family. But that thought of knowing that my son would wonder where I'm at, and, I just closed my eyes, the whole world disappeared. I assumed that would be some kind of a reference of you basically waking up one day and your dad's gone. And I was thinking about, if I were to walk out, how could I live a life filled with happiness, knowing that my son's waking up every day, asking where daddy is. And that really, it's hard for me to listen to that song now when I think about it in that context. So
it's hard.
I'm sorry that happened to you.
Well, I wrote that song. I remember I was, I don't know if you ever watch your kids sleep.
Yeah.
A lot of parents do. And I used to just after dinner, put my kid to sleep, then come back in and just watch her for a while and just listen to her breathe. And it just felt very zen and very just all is right with the world, I mean, everything else can be fucked up, but if my kid's okay, I'm good. And I remember just watching her and just crying. I started crying. Yeah. My wife at the time came up and she's like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, how does a man leave this? How do you walk away from this?
Yeah.
How do you walk away from someone that you've created, that you've helped create, that is dependent on you, and should be the most important thing in your life over any relationship, anything.
Yeah,
that's it right there. Your sons, my daughters, right? And I went into my office area where I had my own office, which is a room and couch and stuff, and sat down on the couch and grabbed a notebook and just started writing ideas and picked up a guitar and stayed up all night and wrote the song almost 100%. Like I'd say 85, 90% of the song. I remember playing it for my A&R guy in LA when I was signed to Capitol, and he's just like, "Oh, tell me how the record's going. What songs do you got?" Because they were frustrated because I was kind of a jerk where I wouldn't do demos. I wouldn't do anything. I'm like, when I'm going to the studio, I'm going to record it. When I give you a record, that's what you get. Yeah. Then we can go from there and figure stuff out. And so I was like, he had a guitar in his office. I go, "You want to hear a little something of a song?" He's like, "Sure, absolutely." Yeah. You kidding me? Yeah. So I started playing the song, and the doors open, and it's Capitol, so it's that round building, right?
Okay, yeah.
So it's kind of hard the outside are the offices, the inside near where the elevator thing is, in the middle of it, there's the desks of all the assistants, like the secretaries and stuff around it. So I'm playing the song, and I get done with the song, and I'm hearing weeping, just weeping, loud crying. And I walk out, and I look at my guy, and he's like, "The hell is that?" And we walk out, into the area, and it was like 4 women who were like all assistants just hugging each other, crying
Wow.
on the desk that's there. And
Yeah.
I'm like, you guys okay? That's the saddest song I've ever heard. And I'm just like, oh God. And he comes up to me, and my A&R guy's just this stoic older English guy, and he goes, well, Arthur, I've got to tell you, I don't know if it's a hit, but it's going on the album. I'm like, yep, I think so. And so having that kind of impact, I don't take credit for that. That's something that was given to me. You know, call it by God, call it by whatever. I believe I was just a funnel for that. And it's just, I think I would say that of Dylan. I would say that of a lot of popular poets. And when you're just in that place where spiritually things come into you.
Yeah.
But you learn how to focus them and put them into words. So, I mean, there's some credit to be given for sure. But I just, you know, I leave myself open. And I think that's where really great writing comes from. And it comes in every genre as far as books go, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. My favorite of your 2 albums, my favorite are
My 2 albums. I've got.
Sorry, not. I meant to say my 2 favorite of all of your albums. I only listen to 2. No, my 2 favorite are Songs for an American Movie, and then your latest one, the Black is the New Black.
Yeah, you're a metal guy. You like that? You like the heavier stuff.
Yeah, I think. Maybe, I don't know how often you hear this. I think my favorite song of yours may be Unemployed Boyfriend. I love it.
It's my least favorite song.
No kidding?
Yeah. Yeah. Plus, it's got my ex-wife on it.
Oh, really? Oh, is that her? I didn't realize that. That's funny.
Well, then, believe what happened to me today.
Yeah.
And that was me getting her to sound like a Valley girl, and she read from the script I wrote. So
yeah,
I can't blame her. But
that's funny.
Yeah, I just but no, I mean, I'm very proud of that record.
Yeah.
I think that record's great. If I had it to do all over again, I would have took songs from both albums and made one album. My manager at the time wanted me to do that because he'd get bigger advances if we did it as 2 albums. And I just wasn't smart enough at the time to see that. But if I would have done it right, I would have done one double album, and there was like 12, 13 songs on each. I probably would have done 18 to 20 songs, just cut some of the deadwood. And one of the songs I would have cut for sure is that song.
No way. Well, I'm glad you did. And I think it's a funny song. That
It is funny.
It's a funny song, man. That kind of blows my mind that you would have wanted to cut that one. So, well,
that would have been one of the first.
I want to be respectful of your time. I'll let you go in a second.
Yeah,
but
I got to go in a few minutes here. Yeah, I got.
Yeah. What? So one last question for you. I'm gonna assume are cigars totally off the menu now after your battle with COVID and stuff? No more cigars.
Well, it was before that. It was when I found out that I had MS.
Yeah.
In 2016, I started weaning myself off them, and then around New Year's, I came off them altogether because just smoking nicotine, anything like that, vaping just increases your chances of progressing.
Yeah, I figured, but
80%.
Yeah,
I can't do that. Why do you smoke cigars?
Cigars make me really nauseous more than alcohol does, actually. I had smoked some Cubans and my friend told me to inhale them, and I got so dizzy I was throwing up. And so
that guy is not a friend of yours.
Yeah. No shit. So yeah. Well, Art, thank you for coming on the Book Brilliant. I think people are going to walk away with a lot here.
All right. What'd you think? Did you catch that part where I got a little nervous when I tripped up? It was when I said, of your 2 albums, and he was like, wait, what? I was panicking in that moment because I'm thinking, oh no, I don't want him to think that. I think the guy's only made 2 albums. So I thought that was funny. We laughed it off. Another hilarious part, though, is when I told him what my favorite song is by Everclear, and he's like, I hate that song. I cannot believe that, because I really do think it's a funny song, and it's a good song. My band, Always Tyrants, we've been covering Everclear songs actually for a while, and so I didn't tell him that, but I'm very familiar with his music, but there's just something about that song in particular that I really like. So I thought that was great. So after the interview, I talked to him a little bit because I wanted to kind of give him some resources for, writing his book, because if you read anything about his life story, you'll see that he's got one heck of a story. And I think that, if he puts out this memoir, I really think it's going to be like a true memoir that's going to stand out in time. And I think it's going to help a lot of people. And so I really hope that he does that, because I really want to hear, more about his background and how he overcame certain things, right? So Art, I truly hope that, you put that book out soon. I know that he's doing a lot of training and schoolwork, and writing a book is obviously no easy task, but man, I would love to read his book. From this point on, though, go see him live. Summerlandtour.net. Go find some dates near you and go make a trip to see him. Everclearmusic.com, Instagram at Everclear. Everywhere else, they're just at Everclear, right? So go check them out, and if you can, give Book Brilliant a follow as well. On Instagram, we are at Book Brilliant, and on Twitter, we're at BBookBrilliant, and Facebook.com/BookBrilliant. So I appreciate everybody who's listening. I've had a lot of requests for more musician interviews, and I love it, because I love interviewing musicians as well. So it's all good stuff, man. So I'm really excited about where this is going. I appreciate everybody's support. And with that, I will say, have a great day.